Eva-Lotta Lamm. Hi.
Hello.
So thank you for coming to joining me at UX Salon Coffee. Before we start, I will introduce myself. My name is Avi Itzkovic. I'm the founder of UX Salon. And this April, we're organizing a conference in Tel Aviv. You're invited, and
Yay.
therefore we're talking. I'll explain what UX Salon Coffee is. We both have coffee. Show yours. Yes.
Yeah, it has a sheep on it. Bah.
So, which basically means we're both going to have coffee while we talk. And as soon as the coffee is over, the conversation is over. So we're not limited by time, but we're limited by how much coffee we have in our cups.
I have a big cup.
All right. So as much as it takes.
Alrighty.
Um, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to talk to you because you're coming to the conference to present on the, sketching interfaces.
Exactly. I'm going to do a workshop.
And before we start, can you give me a little bit of background on how you started? What's your background in design and so forth?
Okay. So, I studied, when I started studying in 97, back in the day, I started studying graphic design, and I moved course after a couple of years to, um, to study more digital stuff because the internet was coming up at that time, becoming more popular. And I did a first internship in a web design shop in the summer of 98, I think. And since then, I've been working on the internet first during my studies and then full time after I graduated. I lived in Paris for a while and worked in a little agency focusing on information architecture and interaction design. And about 6 years ago, I moved to London and worked for a couple of big companies. I worked for Yahoo and for Skype and for Google. Did a bit of freelancing in between. So I've both worked for in-house for big companies on products as well as agencies, and I've been mostly doing things that you would classify as UX, I say now. So basically building stuff that works well and looks good by being the connection point between the people who use the stuff and the people who develop the stuff.
And
Yeah.
that's so you've been designing in that space, but you use the tool of sketching as the intermediate.
Yes, well, sketching, I've been in love with pens and paper for basically all my life. I really like I really like drawing and sketching all the time. But and in school, like in university, it was because I come from the arts background, like from graphic design, and it was really normal to have a sketchbook and sketch all the time to kind of clarify your thinking, figure out things that you want to design, all kinds of things. And then when I started working in my first job doing all this information architecture stuff, somehow I was completely sucked into computers. So I basically stopped sketching completely for a while and just went straight into Illustrator or what did I use at the time or whatever wireframing program and things like that. And I kind of rediscovered it after a few years in. I rediscovered sketching again. And I just love it as a very simple tool, quick tool to clarify my thinking, to develop ideas, and to communicate with people who work with me, who I need to be on the same page as me.
Hmm. I tell you why I like the concept of your workshop and why I'm happy that you're coming is because I think that often we really when we want to design we jump right into the computer.
Yeah.
We want to draw the interfaces. We want to do it on the screen because it's more accurate, or perhaps you can have more abilities. But actually, it's not. It's not like that, is it?
Well, I love working on a computer as well, and it has a lot of advantages. At the stage where you want to figure out details, try a lot of variations, and really shape the finer details, it makes sense to jump into the computer. The problem with the computer is that it does not necessarily help us thinking that much because there's a lot of distraction when you start fiddling about in a computer. Um, you can fiddle about the details without having solved the big overall problem. the hard problem. You know, how do you structure the information? What is the overall flow? What are the main things you have to do? What are the different steps? These are all problems that are really hard to solve, and you solve them by thinking and by iterating and by communicating with other people, getting other ideas in. And sketching is a really good format because it forces you to solve the big problems first, because you're not sucked into the details as much as when you're fiddling about in a computer. And it is also a very good tool to work collaboratively with other people, because you can do it on a whiteboard, you can do it on paper, you can sit around a table, you can exchange and talk over sketches, which is super important in our job, I think, to collaborate with other people.
Could anyone sketch?
Yes, everybody who can hold a pen can sketch. The lovely thing is that we all still learn writing in school. Like, I don't know if future generations will still learn to write by hand, but we still all did. So we can make marks on paper. We're really good with that, and that's all you need. And especially when you sketch, when we talk about interfaces, most of the things that you sketch are lines, like boxes and lines, and that is really easy. It is the thinking that counts, and not we're not making art. We're expressing thoughts, and that's really easy.
So I guess, I mean, people can figure out that they can just draw on a whiteboard, which is a bit more less daunting than to try to design an interface, perhaps, because you have. So what do you teach? Like, I know you go through, you teach this this designing interfaces course online as well, and you go around the world with this workshop. So what is the core of your?
Okay, so what we're doing is it is a mixture of kind of theory and practice, like mostly doing, because the doing is really important. That's kind of the hardest part, to get people doing, because many people are kind of scared to get started. Like, if it's something new, or you think, oh, I can't draw and I don't know, and then just getting to do it is the first step. So we start fairly simple. We start by looking at how do you sketch static screens, you know, focusing more on page structure, you know, how much detail do you need to put into the sketch? How much do you take away? How much do you simplify it to actually communicate the things that you want to communicate, and the things that you want to think about? So we talk about the level of detail. We talk about how can you make your sketches clearer? How can you use visual hierarchy and color and other things to actually clarify your thinking and communicate rather than decorate? Then from the static pages, we move on to interactions, like, because people do interact with our stuff, especially like on mobiles and touch screens. Interaction get more intricate. So how can we sketch ideas around what happens when the user interacts with our stuff, transitions, animations, this kind of thing.
You can draw animations?
Well, you can sketch out your idea for an animation, so that you can kind of chat with your favorite developer and say, oh, look, this is what I have in mind. Let's start building that, and then experimenting with the details of the transition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So and then we zoom out a bit and look at flows. So how do the screens and these small interactions actually fit into a wider flow? How do I take a user story and break it down into the steps that the user will take to kind of go through this user story? How can I use sketching to kind of start expressing that, giving the overview? And then we'll look at scenarios, like if I want to express some newer concepts, or pitch something back in the realm of the user, like how do I take all my abstract stuff and connect it back with the person and show actually how they're using the stuff in their daily life. So we're sketching like some comic style scenarios and storyboards, because that you can do that with a fairly limited amount of effort and sketching skills as well. And it's a very good medium to kind of communicate things that are, well, to connect it back to the user. And you don't need to be like a professional illustrator to kind of start expressing this stuff. And then we wrap it up with some exercises that you can do when you want to organize a workshop in your company with your team, like with your developers and the product owner and other people you can invite. How do you structure such a workshop, and what kind of exercises can you do, and what are kind of the things to look out for, and how can you plan it? And so the whole day is always a mixture between doing exercises, talking about what we did, talking about what was easy, what went good, what went not so good, and wrapping it up with some overall theory of breaking down these different things. So
All right, cool.
that's kind of the structure.
Very cool. I think what I really like it's a very practical tool.
It is, yes.
For the designer.
We do a lot. Yeah, I like practical things. I like examples. So I bring. I have a lot of examples of sketches from my work life that I show. Some of them look interesting and some of them look absolutely horrible, but it also shows the range of sketches that you can do. Not everything does have to look perfect if it serves the purpose of actually solving the problem. So I show a lot of examples and we do a lot of things together, and yes, I hope afterwards everybody can jump straight in and actually go back to their company and start running little workshops. Maybe start with a small workshop, and then when you get more confident, expand the range of people that you invite.
So spread the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And actually solve some problems with pen and paper.
Very cool. So I think we're in the. Can you show some of your stuff? Because we're going to have you sketchnote the entire conference. You're going to do the workshop on the February 4th. On February 3rd, we have a conference, and hopefully, because you're a sketchnoter, can you show some of your?
Yes, I can. So what I prepared earlier.
Yes, yes.
So I'm just back from a little 2-week trip. I was in Amsterdam and in Linz in Austria at some conferences, also teaching this workshop, and people actually liked it. So there's hope for you guys who are going to join us in Israel. My workshops are all tried and tested. I really like getting feedback from people and then changing it slightly based on how it went the time before, because that's the kind of, it's user testing, right? So yeah, and I took some sketch notes at those conferences. So I'll hold it up in the camera. This was in Amsterdam.
These are sketch notes of presentations.
Exactly, these are the presentations. So here was some guy, David Vogel. That was a really nice presentation. He was talking about virtual reality. He does these crazy virtual reality things like for the Oculus Rift, you know, when you have like 360-degree camera stuff. So yes. So these are like some kind of sketch notes. For this time, I tried out like a new thing. I used completely different pens to the pens that I usually use. I wanted to push myself a bit out of my comfort zone, which was good. This is one of my books. I go to a lot of conferences and I take a lot of sketch notes. They are all on Flickr. Maybe you can put the link to my Flickr stream in your show notes that you probably have.
Below, I'll put it below the video.
Below, yes. And I also put them back into book form because I don't know about you, but my attention span on the internet is super low. Means when I look at stuff, the next stuff is only one click away, and I have an attention span of a few minutes, and then that's it. But these notes that I take, they're fairly detailed and fairly intricate. So for stuff like this, I actually do like to get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and get onto the sofa and be completely offline, and then just look at this kind of stuff and actually explore it. And I think there are some other people who like doing that as well. So I put them back into the original format so that you can enjoy them offline. And this is the proof copy of my latest book. You notice it says 2013 and 2014, which is already a while ago. The reason is last year I took 2015, I took completely off and I went traveling with my boyfriend, like backpacking around. And I wanted to finish this book before we left, but there was too much other stuff to do and I didn't. But now it's ready and it's going to be available in about 4 or 5 days time on Amazon. So I'm glad that I finally...
You should bring some to the conference as well, if you can. Actually, in the spirit of show and tell, I want to show you, usually in the conference, I create a notebook, a book that people can carry on their necks, and they can take notes. Every conference there is a thing, and what I have people is write the name of the presentation and 3 takeaways from the talk.
That is awesome.
And then they ask themselves a question: What else do I want to learn? As you know, if I go home, what else do I put in Google and want to learn about this topic?
Yeah.
So
and on the right-hand side, they have space to draw some.
Exactly. This is new. This is
really awesome.
I just added this year, where people can just take notes, draw stuff, because
This is great. I also like this format. Do you know why I like this format? Because sketchnoting is not only about sketching. It is also about note-taking. And note-taking, actually, you have to kind of pick, you have to listen, and then you have to pick the things that you're interested in. So you're not going to write everything down. You have to choose, and you have to then summarize it. And that's why I like this format, because it forces you to pick 3 things and to summarize them in a very small space. And then you can visualize them. And it's going to anchor it in your brain even more. And that's
exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes, I think that's a totally cool format. I can show you something as well, because I did something similar when I was traveling, actually. Right. So let me find the empty one. Okay, so when I went traveling, I made myself these books. I now have 4 of them. Here they all are, all my books. And I made little prompts. I had this printed, and there are little prompts in here, so you can see there's today is, and I am here, so for the place. And then I have things like something I had to eat today, someone I talked to today, something that made me smile, a thought I had today. So I had little prompts in there for every day. There are these prompts. And what I did then, I picked out all these moments of the day, and here we have one. And I sketched. So these are my sketch notes from my travels. I usually did a spread a day. This is Mexico. Mexico was amazing art. Look at this.
This is actual. This is not a reprint. This is the actual.
No, this is the actual book. So this is blue was Guatemala. I took a different color for every country, so it becomes easy to see. So this is orange. This was India. That was very much at the beginning. India is an amazing country. I can only recommend it. Back here, that is Thailand. Yeah. So I love this, having little prompts like this, like you have with the takeaways, and then visualizing it, because the visualizing part actually anchors it in the brain. And when you, the thing is also, you don't want to push everything only to the visual side and only use visuals, but you want to connect the power of language with the power of visuals, because it is scientifically proven that when you connect these two, it is going to anchor it in your brain for longer and more of it. So using both together is perfect.
Great, exactly what I thought, because you learn so many things in one day, that if you don't take like even small notes like that, just 3 things you took away from the talk, then you may forget them at the end of the day. So
tell me about it. I mean, that's the reason why I started taking sketch notes, because my memory is horrible, and I remember, like 2 weeks afterwards, it's like I went to this conference and there was this awesome talk of this guy whose name I forgot, and he talked about something really interesting. I can't remember what it was, but it was really good. That's me without my notes, so that's why I take
Hopefully, we
notes.
can get all your sketchnote as well to the audience, to the conference attendees. We can create a PDF or something that we can send out, or
Well, what I usually do is during the conference after the talk, I take a little picture and tweet it and put it out there.
okay.
And what I do as well is I usually scan them afterwards and put them on Flickr. So it's like high resolution
Okay, we can do that.
and like, yeah, something like that. Super cool. Like
Sounds
that
great.
everybody can look at it.
All right, Eva-Lotta,
Yes.
I will say thank you for taking the time to have coffee with me.
It was a
Um,
pleasure.
and I'm running out of coffee, so
Yes.
it was a great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to see you very, very soon.
I'm looking forward to coming to Israel. I've never been, so I'm very excited to
Yes,
come to a new country for me.
it will be a lot of fun. See
Yes.
you soon.
Okay. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.